Hand over all your client files, right now. I looked up from my laptop to see Devin standing in my doorway, his 6'4" frame blocking most of the light from the hallway. His normally composed face had twisted into something ugly, part rage, part triumph. The meeting I'd been scheduled to attend with our biggest client had been mysteriously canceled 10 minutes earlier. Now I understood why. Every file, every note, every strategy document, all of it, he continued, stepping into my office without waiting for an invitation. My heart hammered against my ribs, but I kept my expression neutral as I stood up. 5 years of building something from nothing flashed before my eyes. Late nights, missed dinners, international calls at 3 a.m. I'd generated over $40 million in revenue from the relationships I'd cultivated. Of course, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. I pulled open my filing cabinet and began removing folders. Blue Mountain Hotels, Next Gen Pharmaceuticals, Oakwood Financial. The weight of them in my hands felt like holding living things. Devin watched with thinly veiled impatience, checking his watch twice. He didn't even try to hide his smirk. I don't understand, I said, placing the stack on my desk. These clients have been with me since. They're company clients, Simone, not your clients. Devin's tone was sharp enough to cut. The executive team has decided to redistribute your accounts, effective immediately. I stared at him, this man who'd praised my work just last week at the quarterly meeting. Why? Strategic restructuring, he replied, the corporate speak falling from his mouth with practiced ease. We're consolidating client management under regional directors. What he didn't say, under directors who were all men from his former company. Men who'd never brought in the level of business I had. I slid the files toward him, but kept my hand on top. You might want to review these before making any decisions. My approach with these clients is, your approach is no longer relevant. He yanked the files from under my fingers. Clear out your personal items by end of day. HR will escort you out at 5. As he turned to leave, he paused. Oh, and don't get any ideas about contacting the clients directly. Your company phone and laptop will be deactivated within the hour, and we've already informed them of the transition. When the door closed behind him, I sat perfectly still, breathing through the burning in my chest. 5 years. 5 years of building relationships so strong that clients called me before their own team members when crises erupted. And now it was being handed to people who couldn't even pronounce their names correctly. Before I continue with what happened next, I need to take a quick moment to say something. If you're enjoying this story so far and want to hear how it unfolds, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Comments mean everything to storytellers like me, so drop your thoughts below. Now, let's get back to that day that changed everything for me. My name is Simone Alvarez. At 34, I was the youngest senior client partner at Baker Strategic Consulting. I'd built my reputation on one simple principle. I treated clients like actual human beings, not walking checkbooks. I hadn't always been in consulting. For 8 years, I'd worked at a nonprofit focused on microloans for women entrepreneurs in developing countries. I'd traveled to 27 different countries, sat in makeshift homes, and listened to women tell me their dreams for building businesses. I learned that business wasn't just spreadsheets and profit margins. It was deeply personal. When I transitioned to corporate consulting, I brought that perspective with me. Where other consultants saw problems to solve, I saw people navigating complex challenges. My files contained more than just strategies and data points. They held personal notes about clients' families, their worries, their true business goals beyond what they shared in boardrooms. Devin had arrived as our new CEO just 11 months earlier, brought in to accelerate growth. He'd come from a larger firm with a reputation for aggressive expansion and equally aggressive cost-cutting. From his first day, I sensed his discomfort with my approach. Your client retention rate is impressive, he'd said during our first one-on-one meeting, but your billable hours per client are 22% below target. That's because I don't bill them for every conversation, I explained. Building trust sometimes means putting in time off the clock. He'd stared at me like I'd suggested we conduct meetings underwater. That's not how this industry works. But the results spoke for themselves. My client satisfaction scores were perfect. Referrals from my clients accounted for 40% of the company's new business last year. The chairman of the board had personally thanked me at the holiday party. None of that mattered to Devin, who saw my methods as inefficient and my close client relationships as a threat to the company's control. As I packed up my personal items, framed photos, a potted plant from my assistant, a collection of thank you cards from clients, My phone buzzed with a text from Layla, our HR director. Devin just canceled all your client meetings for the next 2 weeks. Says you're taking personal leave. What's happening? My hands froze over the box. They weren't even waiting until tomorrow to start erasing me. I typed back, he's redistributing my clients. I'm out. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, then reappeared. Finally, that's insane. The board approved this? Doubt it. Strategic restructuring, apparently. I finished packing, then sat down at my computer. I had less than an hour before my access was cut off. I couldn't download client files that would violate my contract, but there was nothing preventing me from sending a simple email to myself. I opened a blank document and began typing from memory. Not strategies or proprietary information, just a list of names. Every client contact I'd worked with over 5 years. Their roles, their communication preferences, the challenges they'd shared with me in confidence. The things that couldn't be gleaned from a file but made all the difference in serving them effectively. I just hit send when my screen went black. They'd moved faster than expected. Walking out of the building that afternoon felt surreal. Security didn't escort me. Apparently, Devin hadn't bothered to alert them, but Layla met me at the elevator. "This is wrong," she whispered, hugging me goodbye. "Everyone knows it. It's business," I replied, the words tasting bitter. "No," she said firmly. "It's ego. And it's going to backfire." I didn't know then how right she would be. At home, I poured a glass of wine and sat on my balcony, watching the sunset paint the city gold. The shock was wearing off, replaced by a hollow ache. Those clients weren't just accounts to me. I knew which ones were fighting for their jobs, which ones had children with health problems, which ones took calls at odd hours because they were caring for aging parents. Devin and his team would discover quickly that my files contained detailed strategies, thorough analysis, and clear recommendations. What they wouldn't find were the keys to the relationships I'd built, the small details that made clients feel seen, understood, and genuinely supported. My phone rang, a number I didn't recognize. I let it go to voicemail, then another call, and another. By 9 that evening, I had 17 missed calls, 6 from unknown numbers, the rest from people at Baker, Devin, the COO, 2 board members. I turned off my phone and went to bed. When I woke and checked my email, my inbox had exploded. Subject lines ranged from "urgent call needed" to "please contact immediately" to one that simply read "disaster." The message that caught my attention came from Bridget Marshall, CFO at Blue Mountain Hotels, our largest client. "Simone, heard about the change. Extremely concerned. Can we talk?" My personal number, 555-0187. I hesitated, my finger hovering over her number. My employment contract had a non-solicitation clause. I couldn't reach out to clients for a year after leaving, but there was nothing preventing them from reaching out to me. I called Bridget. "Thank goodness," she answered on the first ring. "What in the world is happening over there?" "Strategic restructuring," I said, unable to keep the irony from my voice. "That's not what I've heard," she replied. "Rumor is Devin's consolidating power by placing his former colleagues in control of major accounts." That aligned with my suspicions, but hearing it confirmed sent a fresh wave of anger through me. "I can't comment on internal matters." "Well, I can comment on our contract," Bridget said. "We signed with Baker because of you, Simone. You know our business inside and out." This morning, I received an email introducing someone named Bradley as our new primary contact, a person I've never met who apparently specializes in hospitality. He's requested a meeting to review our current strategy. My stomach twisted. Bradley Davidson, one of Devin's former colleagues who joined 3 months ago. He'd spent exactly 2 years at a mid-tier hotel chain before becoming a consultant. "I have to work with whoever Baker assigns," I said carefully. "No, actually, you don't," Bridget replied. "Our contract has a key person clause. Section 12.4 specifically names you as essential personnel." I nearly dropped the phone. I'd forgotten about that clause, something the company's previous CEO had agreed to for our top 5 clients. "If you're removed from our account without our consent," Bridget continued, "we can terminate without penalty." The implications hit me like a physical blow. Blue Mountain represented nearly $5 million in annual revenue for Baker. If they walked, "I need to think," I said. "This is complicated." "It's about to get more complicated," Bridget replied. "I'm not the only client who's upset. Tracy from NextGen called me this morning. So did Michael from Oakwood. By noon, I had received calls from executives at 7 different client companies. All expressed the same concern. They'd built relationships with me, trusted my guidance, and were uncomfortable with sudden changes. 3 had key person clauses in their contracts. I spent the day alternating between anxiety and a growing sense of vindication. My phone continued to ring with calls from Baker. The number of voicemails and texts had grown to 38. Around 4 in the afternoon, I received a call from Josephine Tanner, chairwoman of Baker's board of directors. "Simone," she said when I answered, "thank you for taking my call. We have a situation that requires immediate resolution." "I'm listening," I replied, keeping my voice neutral. "There appears to have been a significant miscommunication regarding the handling of your client relationships." Her carefully chosen words told me everything I needed to know about the panic happening at Baker's headquarters. The board was not consulted on the reorganization that Devon implemented yesterday. "I see. Blue Mountain Hotels has invoked their key person clause and given notice of contract termination. NextGen Pharmaceuticals and Oakwood Financial are threatening to do the same." I remained silent, letting the weight of her words hang between us. "The board has called an emergency meeting for tomorrow morning," she continued. "We would appreciate your perspective on how to resolve this situation." My heart raced. This was my moment, to either seek revenge or take the high road. The power dynamic had shifted dramatically in less than 24 hours. "I'll need to think about it," I said. "Please do," she replied. "And Simone, for what it's worth, many of us believe this should never have happened." As I ended the call, I noticed an email that had arrived while we were speaking, from Devon. Subject: Urgent meeting request. Simone, clear misunderstanding about yesterday. Need to discuss immediate reinstatement. Available anytime. I stared at my screen, a slow smile spreading across my face. Devon, who had dismissed me without a second thought yesterday, was now scrambling to undo the damage. But there was something he didn't know, something that would change everything. Early the next morning, my doorbell rang. I opened it to find a courier holding a small envelope. Delivery for Simone Alvarez. Signature required. Inside was a handwritten note from Josephine Tanner. "Board meeting at 10 a.m. Car will pick you up at 9:15 if you're willing to attend. Please call to confirm." I sat at my kitchen counter, turning the card over in my hands. Going back into that building would feel like walking into the lion's den. But there was something satisfying about being invited back just 36 hours after being dismissed. I called Josephine and confirmed I would attend. At 9:15 sharp, a black sedan pulled up outside my apartment building. The driver opened the door without speaking, and I slid into the back seat, smoothing my navy dress, the one I reserved for high-stakes presentations. 20 minutes later, we pulled into the underground parking garage of Baker's headquarters. Instead of the main entrance, the driver led me to a service elevator that opened directly into the executive floor, avoiding the spectacle of my return through the main lobby. Layla was waiting when the doors opened. 57, she whispered, hugging me quickly. "What?" 57 missed calls to your phone. Devon called IT last night trying to get them to remotely access your personal devices. My blood ran cold. "He can't do that." "He tried. It refused. Said it would be illegal." She glanced over her shoulder. "The board's already in there. Devon's been pacing the hallway for an hour." As if summoned by his name, Devon appeared around the corner. When he spotted me, relief washed over his face, quickly replaced by what I recognized as his business smile. All teeth, no warmth. "Simone, thank you for coming in." He stepped forward as if to embrace me, then seemed to think better of it when he saw my expression. "Just a misunderstanding yesterday. Heat of the moment. I'm sure we can sort everything out. The board is waiting," I replied, walking past him toward the conference room. The boardroom fell silent as I entered. 8 people sat around the massive table, faces tight with concern. Financial reports were spread across the surface. A projection screen displayed a single number in red, negative 18.4%. "Our stock price dropped since market open," Josephine explained, following my gaze. "Word got out about Blue Mountain's contract termination." I took the empty seat she indicated, directly across from Devon. His confident facade had slipped, revealing something closer to desperation. "Thank you for coming, Simone," Josephine began. "The situation is critical. Beyond the 3 clients you're aware of, we've received concerned calls from 7 others. All are requesting clarity on their account management." Devon leaned forward, "Which is why we're prepared to offer you an immediate reinstatement. Same clients, same compensation package, plus a retention bonus of..." "Devon," Josephine cut him off sharply. We agreed the board would lead this discussion. He sat back, jaw tight. Before we discuss any potential resolution, I said, I'd like to understand what happened. Was this restructuring approved by the board? Uncomfortable glances circled the table before Josephine answered. It was not. Devin implemented these changes under his operational authority, but without board notification or approval. I see. I kept my expression neutral. And what exactly was communicated to my clients? Victor, the board's oldest member, slid a folder across the table. Email communications sent yesterday morning. Standard transition language. I opened the folder to find printouts of emails sent to my clients. My eyes scanned the text, anger building with each word. As part of our commitment to providing specialized industry expertise, I read aloud, your account will now be managed by a dedicated team with deep sector knowledge. This implies I lacked expertise in their industries. No one responded. I continued reading. We've appreciated Simone's contributions and wish her well in future endeavors. This suggests I left voluntarily. Devin shifted uncomfortably. Standard transition language. It's deliberately misleading, I countered. You fired me without cause, without warning, and without transition planning for clients who specifically requested me in their contracts. You weren't fired, Devin insisted. Your role was being restructured. My access was cut off while I was still in the building. My personal items were packed in boxes when I returned from lunch. How would you define that? Before he could answer, the boardroom door opened. Warren, the company's general counsel, entered with a grim expression. Oakwood Financial just sent formal notice. They're invoking their key person clause and terminating their contract, effective immediately. The room erupted in murmurs. Oakwood represented another $3.8 million in annual revenue. That's 2 of our 5 largest clients gone in less than 48 hours, Victor said, voice tight with anger. NextGen will make it 3 if we don't act immediately. All eyes turned to me. We're prepared to offer you not just reinstatement, but a promotion, Josephine said. Senior Vice President of Client Relations, reporting directly to the board, full autonomy over your client relationships. It was everything I would have wanted a week ago. More responsibility, more authority, protection from Devin's interference. But something had shifted inside me during those hours alone in my apartment, reading desperate messages and fielding calls from clients who had become friends. What happens to the people Devin brought in to replace me? I asked. Devin answered quickly. They'll be reassigned to other accounts, non-competing sectors. So they keep their jobs while I was nearly escorted out? No one had a good answer for that. I need some time to think, I said finally. We don't have time, Devin snapped. Blue Mountain's CEO is demanding a call this afternoon, if you're not on it. If I'm not on it, you'll lose the account. I finished for him. I understand the situation perfectly. The tension in the room was thick enough to touch. These were smart, capable people who had built a respected firm, now watching it crumble because one man's ego had driven him to dismantle something he didn't understand. May I speak candidly? I asked, looking at Josephine rather than Devin. She nodded. The issue isn't just who manages these accounts going forward. It's about trust, both with your clients and your employees. These clients trusted me because I built relationships with them as people, not just as sources of revenue. I knew about their children's soccer games and their parents' health challenges. I remembered which ones couldn't eat shellfish and which ones needed meeting materials a full week in advance because they processed information differently. I paused, making eye contact with each board member. Those details aren't in my files because they're not billable strategy work. They're human connections. But they're why those clients call me at 9 p.m. when a crisis erupts instead of waiting until morning. They're why they recommend us to their colleagues. They're why our retention rate is double the industry average. The room had grown utterly still. Devin saw that approach as inefficient, as a weakness to be corrected rather than a strength to be leveraged. And he made a decision that betrayed both your client's trust and mine. Devin's face had turned an alarming shade of red. This is ridiculous. Business isn't about holding hands and remembering birthdays. It's about delivering measurable results. Your approach isn't scalable, and that's what this company needs right now. Scalable, consistent methodology that doesn't depend on personal relationships. His words hung in the air, damning in their clarity. He truly believed what he was saying. And how are those results looking today, Devin? Victor asked quietly. 2 major clients gone. Stock in freefall? Emergency board meeting? Devin had no response. I need until tomorrow morning, I said, standing up. I'll have my decision then. And Blue Mountain? Josephine asked. I'll call Bridget. Ask her to give us 24 hours before making any final decisions. Relief visibly washed over the room. Thank you, Simone, Josephine said. We'll await your decision. As I gathered my things, Devin stepped close, voice low. This doesn't have to be adversarial. We both want what's best for the company. I looked into his eyes, seeing for the first time not malice but genuine incomprehension. He truly couldn't understand why his approach had failed so spectacularly. No, Devin. You want what's easiest to measure, track, and control. Those aren't the same things. I left through the main lobby this time, exchanging warm greetings with staff who looked surprised and delighted to see me. Several whispered quick words of support as I passed. We miss you already. Don't let them push you around. This place isn't the same without you. By the time I reached the street, my resolve had crystallized. At home, I called Bridget at Blue Mountain. They want you back, don't they? She asked without preamble. They've offered me a promotion. Direct report to the board. She laughed softly. Of course they have. The question is, do you want it? I hesitated. I'm not sure yet. Would you be willing to hold off on any final decisions until tomorrow? For you? Absolutely. Though I should warn you, I've had 3 calls from competitors since we gave notice. Everyone wants Blue Mountain's business. I appreciate the time, Bridget. After we hung up, I made similar calls to my other key clients, asking for 24 hours before they made irreversible decisions. All agreed readily. Then I turned to the stack of messages I'd been avoiding. 7 different consulting firms had reached out, having heard through the industry grapevine that I was suddenly available. 2 were Baker's largest competitors. Their offers were generous, clearly designed to capitalize on Baker's vulnerability. But it was the last message that captured my attention. From Lucas Zhang, former client and now CEO of a rapidly growing investment firm. Heard what happened. Their loss, potentially our gain. I've been waiting for the right person to lead our advisory division. That person is you. Name your terms. No rush, take the weekend to think. Lucas and I had worked together 3 years ago when he was CFO at a different company. I'd helped him navigate a challenging restructuring after a merger, and we'd stayed loosely connected since. My phone buzzed with a text from Layla. Board still in session. Devin looking ill. What are you thinking? I typed back, still deciding. Another text arrived, this one from a number I didn't recognize. This is Warren, GC, from Baker. Off the record, board discussing Devin's future. Vote of confidence scheduled for tomorrow a.m. Your decision may influence outcome. I set my phone down, suddenly overwhelmed by the weight of the choices before me. Return to Baker with more power but the same underlying culture? Join a competitor and bring my clients with me? Accept Lucas's offer to build something new? Or perhaps there was another option, one I'd been turning over in my mind since walking out of Baker's offices yesterday. An option that would change everything. I opened my laptop and began to write. When I woke the next morning, my decision was clear. The night had brought clarity, and a plan that felt right not just for me, but for everyone involved. I dressed carefully in a charcoal gray suit I'd bought to celebrate landing Blue Mountain as a client 3 years earlier. It felt fitting to wear it today. At 8:30 a.m. I called Josephine. I've made my decision, I said when she answered. I'd like to present it to the board in person. We're meeting at 9, she replied. I'll send a car. 40 minutes later, I walked back into the boardroom. The atmosphere was even more tense than yesterday. Devin sat apart from the others, his expression thunderous. Several board members wouldn't meet his eyes. Thank you for coming, Simone, Josephine began. Before you share your decision, I should inform you that the board has spent considerable time discussing the events of the past few days. We've reached some preliminary conclusions, but we'd like to hear your thoughts first. I nodded, taking a deep breath before speaking. I won't be returning to Baker, I said. Devin's posture relaxed slightly, a hint of satisfaction crossing his face. However, I continued, I'm not joining a competitor either. Now everyone looked confused. I've spent the last day speaking with each of my clients. We've had long, honest conversations about what they need and what would serve them best. What became clear is that they don't just want me. They want the approach I represent, the personalized attention, the deep understanding of their businesses and challenges, the human connection. I opened my laptop and turned it to face the board. This is a proposal for a new arrangement, one that benefits Baker, preserves client relationships, and creates a path forward that honors what we've all built together. Josephine leaned forward, scanning the document on my screen. A strategic partnership? Yes, I'm establishing an independent advisory practice focused exclusively on relationship management and strategic guidance. Baker would continue to provide the technical implementation, data analysis, and specialized services you excel at. You want to take the client relationships with you, Devin said flatly. I'm proposing a collaborative model where we each do what we do best. You've made it clear you want Baker to focus on scalable, standardized methodologies. That has value, but it's not what these particular clients need from their primary advisor. Victor was nodding slowly. A boutique front end that feeds into our deeper technical capabilities. Exactly. Clients get the personalized attention they value from me, while still benefiting from Baker's considerable resources and expertise. Baker retains a significant portion of the revenue without having to manage the high-touch relationship work that Devin finds inefficient. And you get to build your own business using our client base, Devin said, his tone accusatory. I get to preserve relationships that took years to build and that you were willing to discard in a day, I countered. The alternative is that these clients leave entirely, which benefits no one. Warren, the general counsel, was reviewing the document with interest. This is remarkably detailed for something you developed overnight. I smiled slightly. I've had contingency plans for years. Any good consultant does. You've already discussed this with the clients? Josephine asked. In principle, yes. All have expressed enthusiasm for the arrangement, pending board approval. 4 have verbally committed to remaining with this hybrid model rather than following me to a competitor or seeking new representation altogether. The energy in the room shifted as the implications sank in. This wasn't just a solution to the immediate crisis. It was a new business model that could potentially work for everyone. Everyone except Devin, whose centralized control would be diminished. This is completely unorthodox, Devin objected. It creates massive complications for account management, billing structures. All addressed in the proposal? I interrupted calmly. Pages 4 through 7 outline the operational framework. The board members were exchanging glances, a mix of surprise and consideration on their faces. We'd need time to review this properly, Josephine said. Of course, but we do have an immediate issue to address. Blue Mountain, NextGen, and Oakwood are waiting for a resolution. I've bought us until noon today. Josephine turned to Warren. Can we create interim agreements to stabilize those relationships while we evaluate the full proposal? He nodded. We could draft transitional terms by 11 a.m. This is insanity, Devin interjected. You can't seriously be considering letting an employee walk out with our largest clients and then paying her to manage them. Former employee, Victor corrected. An employee you dismissed without board approval, triggering a crisis that has already cost us millions in market capitalization. The room fell silent. Devin's face flushed. Perhaps, Josephine said carefully, we should discuss this proposal without Devin present, given the apparent conflict. Excuse me? Devin's voice rose. I'm the CEO of this company, and you serve at the pleasure of this board, Victor reminded him. A board that was scheduled to hold a vote of confidence regarding your leadership this morning. I felt a twinge of sympathy for Devin as he looked around the table, seeing the united front against him, but only a twinge. He had created this situation through his own arrogance and refusal to value what he couldn't quantify. I'll step out to give you privacy for your discussion, I said, standing. Thank you, Simone, Josephine replied. We won't keep you waiting long. In the hallway, Layla was hovering nearby, pretending to organize files at a cabinet. Well, she whispered. They're discussing it, I said quietly. Devin's not happy. She glanced at the closed door. He's been impossible since yesterday, blaming everyone but himself. 20 minutes later, the boardroom door opened. Josephine emerged alone. The board has reached a unanimous decision, she said. We'd like to move forward with your proposal, with some minor adjustments to the financial terms. Warren is drafting the interim agreements now. My heart leapt. And Devin? Devin has been asked to take a leave of absence while the board evaluates his position. Victor will serve as interim CEO. It was more than I'd expected, and exactly what Baker needed. I'll call the clients immediately, I said. Josephine squeezed my arm. Thank you, Simone. Not just for this solution, but for showing us what we nearly lost. Over the next 4 hours, events moved with dizzying speed. Warren drafted interim agreements that all 3 key clients accepted immediately. I called each personally, explaining the new arrangement. Their relief was palpable. I knew you'd find a way forward, Bridget told me. This actually gives us the best of both worlds, your personal attention and Baker's resources. By mid-afternoon, Baker's stock had stabilized as rumors of a solution spread through the market. By close of business, I had signed a formal partnership agreement that would allow me to build my independent practice while maintaining a privileged relationship with Baker. And Devin? The official announcement came 3 days later. He would not be returning from his leave of absence. Instead, the board had appointed Victor as permanent CEO, with a mandate to refocus the company on client relationships supported by technical excellence, not the other way around. 1 week after being unceremoniously dismissed, I sat in my new office, a small but elegant space in a building just 2 blocks from Baker's headquarters. My phone rang. Lucas Zhang. "Congratulations on the partnership arrangement," he said when I answered. "Very creative solution. Thank you. Though I'm curious how you heard about it so quickly." He laughed. "Word travels fast when someone rewrites the rules. Are you still taking on select new clients? Because my offer stands. I might have room in my portfolio," I replied, smiling. "Let's talk next week." As I hung up, my assistant, yes, I'd already hired one, appeared at my door. "Your 2 p.m. is here, and this just arrived for you." She handed me a small envelope. Inside was a handwritten note from Josephine. "Devin cleared out his office today. Thought you might like to know that when he opened the client files you left, he finally understood. Too late for him, but not for Baker. We're grateful. Jay." I smiled, tucking the note into my desk drawer. My revenge hadn't required sabotage or public humiliation. It hadn't needed grand gestures or scorched earth. It had simply required patience and letting nature take its course, allowing Devin to discover for himself that true client relationships couldn't be reduced to formulas or transferred like assets on a balance sheet. By trying to standardize something inherently human, he had destroyed the very thing he sought to control. Later that afternoon, I walked to my first client meeting as the founder of Alvarez Advisory Partners. The sign on the door was still temporary, a printed paper taped to frosted glass, but it represented something permanent, the validation of an approach that valued human connection as the foundation of business success. My phone buzzed with a text from Bridget. Board approved the expanded contract. Dinner to celebrate next week, and another from Victor. First week as CEO nearly done. Already implementing the relationship. Focus strategies you recommended. Coffee soon to discuss? I smiled, slipping my phone back into my pocket as I prepared to greet my client. In the end, my best revenge wasn't taking Baker's clients or celebrating Devin's downfall. It was creating something new that honored what I had always known to be true. In business, as in life, relationships are everything. Numbers matter, but people matter more. And some lessons can only be learned the hard way. If you found this story meaningful, please hit that like button and subscribe to hear more authentic workplace stories. Have you ever had to stand your ground when someone undervalued your approach? Share your experience in the comments. I read every single one. Until next time, remember that your unique approach isn't something to apologize for. It might just be your greatest strength.